always throws a fit, Michael said, thinking about the lecture he'd gotten when he sought authorization for the project. The entire past is too dangerous as far as he's concerned. That's one reason I wanted to go this afternoon. I've been afraid he might change his mind and decide to declare Pearl Harbor a blanket 10. Oh, that reminds me, Charles said, looking guilty. Someone phoned earlier for you. Was it Dunworthy? I don't know. Shakira took the message. Shakira? He nodded. She's been teaching me to foxtrot. Foxtrot? Michael said. I thought you had to learn about fox hunting. I need to learn both, so I can go to the club dances. The British community in Singapore held weekly dances at the club. He put his arms in the self-defense positions they'd had when Michael came in and began stepping stiffly around the room. And 2, and 3, and 4, and... The British community should have spent more time paying attention to what the Japanese were up to, Michael said. They might not have been caught so completely flat-footed. Like you Americans at Pearl Harbor, Lieutenant Davis, he said. You said Shakira took the message, Michael said. Did she write it down? Yes, it's there by the phone. Michael picked up the slip of paper and tried to read it, but the only words he could make out were Michael, and further down, tube. The rest of it was anybody's guess. There was something that might be lob, or late, or hots, and on the next line, and 5-O-L or S-C-L, nothing that looked like Dunworthy. The only capital letter he could find looked like a Q, which was unlikely. I can't make this out, he said, handing it to Charles. Did she say anything about what it was about? I wasn't here. I had to run to wardrobe to fetch my dinner jacket. And when I got back, she told me there'd been a call for you and she'd written it down. Where is she now? Did she go back to her rooms? No, she went to see if she could find a recording of Moonlight Serenade for us to practice to. Here, he took the slip of paper from Michael. Let me try. Good Lord, she really does have wretched handwriting. Let's see, that's definitely a D, he said, pointing to the Q. Dunworthy. No, it's too short, Michael said. You're right. Or it might be an O. Orleans? And I think that's S-C-H. He pointed at the S-O-L. And the next word might be change. Schedule change. Schedule change. In which case the lob might be lab. The lab called. There's been a schedule change. They'd better not have postponed it again or it'll run into the Battle of the Bulge, Michael said, calling the lab. Hi, Lena, let me talk to Badri. There was a pause. May I ask who this is? Who? It's Michael Davies, he said impatiently. Oh, Michael, Lena said, I'm dreadfully sorry. I didn't recognize you with that American accent. What is it you wanted to know? Somebody called me earlier and left a message. Was it you? No, I only just came on duty. It might have been Badri. I can have him phone you as soon as he's finished in about an hour. An hour. Listen, can you check to see if the time of my drop's been changed? He asked her. It was on the schedule. Schedule. Corrected, changing the American SK to SH, for Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. I'll check. Hang on a moment, she said. And there was a brief silence. No, the time hasn't been changed. Michael Davies, Wednesday, 8 a.m. Good. Thanks, Lena. He started to say goodbye and then thought of something. Dunworthy's not there, is he? He asked her. No. He thanked her again and hung up. Whatever the message says, it wasn't schedule change, she said to Charles and called Dunworthy's office. His new secretary, Eldridge, answered. Mr. Dunworthy's not here at present, Mr. Davies, he said. Do you happen to know if he tried to call me earlier this afternoon? No, sir. Oh, he said, wishing Finch were still there. He'd have volunteered the information that Dunworthy was in a meeting or over at wardrobe or props and told him how soon he'd be back. Can you tell me where he went? No, Eldridge said. Did you wish to make an appointment, Mr. Davies? Not if Dunworthy isn't the one who left this message, he thought. If this were Finch, he could say, Dunworthy hasn't decided to cancel my project, could he? But, has he? But Eldridge would probably report the entire conversation to his employer, and he didn't want to give Dunworthy any ideas. Would you have him call me as soon as he gets back, he said. I'll tell him you phoned, Eldridge said, and Michael hung up and then stood there, trying to decide whether he should go look for Dunworthy himself. But he could be anywhere, and if he wasn't the one who called... Did Shakira say when she'd be back? He asked Charles. He shook his head. I expected her by now. She must have had difficulty finding Moonlight Serenade, which meant she could be anywhere too, and if he went looking for either of them, he was likely to miss her. His best bet was to stay here and wait for her to come back. He looked one last time at the message, decided what looked like lab could actually be dog, as in dog tags, and called props to see if they were the one who called to say his dog tags for the Battle of the Bulge were ready. They weren't, and they hadn't. There was nothing to do but wait. Unlike Charles, he was completely ready. He'd memorized the locations, tonnage, and markings of the battleships and cruisers, the layout of the New Orleans, and the names of her entire officers and crew, the minute-by-minute chronology of events from Saturday night on, the location of every ship in the Pacific Fleet, the rules of naval protocol, and maps of Honolulu, Pearl Harbor, Ford Island, and Battleship Row. He felt totally ready to navigate the decks of the New Orleans, impersonate an officer, and find the main hatch, the ammo magazine, and Chaplain Forgy in the dark. The only aspect of his mission he was worried about was getting onto the New Orleans in the first place. He was scheduled to go through to Waikiki near Hotel Street on December 6th at 8 p.m. And the Liberty boats from Honolulu out to the ships had run till midnight. So even if there was slippage, he should have no problem catching a launch. But according to his research, Hotel Street on a Saturday night had been full of drunk GIs and Marines spoiling for a fight, and an over-eager shore patrol. He couldn't afford to be in a ship's brig, or worse, in a Honolulu jail when the Japanese attacked at 7:57 Sunday morning. Maybe he should forget Hotel Street and see how far away from his drop the officers' club was, and whether launches had run to and from it that night. They should have. There'd been a dance, and he was a second lieutenant, so he could go. He could ask Shakira to teach him the foxtrot when she got back, if there was a launch. He called up Pearl Harbor Officers Club contempt accounts and searched them for references to a dock at the club. Here it was, the club landing. Second Lieutenant Barney Benning talked about taking his fiancée out to the landing to look at the lights, a likely story. And he mentioned the launches, but not how late they ran, presumably midnight like the Liberty boats, though here was something about an ensign missing the last launch to the Arizona at 1:30, a good thing, trying to get his buddy, who could hardly walk, down to the dock. But it didn't say what time it had been, and the count of his buddy as drunker than I thought it was possible to get made him wonder if he was right in thinking the officers' club was quieter than the phone rang. Michael leaped to answer it. "Hello, Charles," Shakira said. "And sorry I've been so long. I haven't been able to find any Glenn Miller. I've located a Benny Goodman. This isn't Charles, it's Michael," he said. "Where are you?" "You don't sound like Michael." "I just had an American accent implanted," he said. "When you were here, someone called for me. I wrote it all down for you," she said. "Who called? Was it Dunworthy?" "No, the lab. The message should be there by the phone." "What did they say?" "I wrote it down," she said, annoyed. "The order of your drops has been changed. You're going to Dunkirk first, on Wednesday at 8 a.m. as scheduled."